Hello, I'm Molly Monks, a licensed insolvency practitioner at Parker Walsh, and I'm going to not be discussing today liquidation procedures and processes and the Insolvency Act and all the technical side to it. I'm going to be discussing the psychological impact that insolvency can have on directors. So I've been working in insolvency for over 20 years, and it can be a very stressful and sad time for the directors, and I think that can get overlooked. So I understand that creditors, they are owed money, they're not getting paid, which can have its own repercussions for them, and employees have been made redundant and they might be owed wages, and they can be very annoyed at the director. But we have to remember that the director has been living with this for a long time. The directors that I commonly deal with, they've seen the first signs that things aren't looking great, or they might just be worried about the future. They're trying everything they can to keep the company afloat. They might be putting in their own personal money to keep it going, and that personal money may have gone in to pay your invoice or to pay an employee's wages, for example. So they're putting in their own money, but the stress of it, it can be lonely being a director of a company. And when there's, troubles happening and, they're getting pressure, they might have hostile creditors, etc. It can be very, very lonely and they don't know where to turn. So obviously I would advise to come to someone like myself, a licensed insolvency practitioner, so that we can help you because you've got that pressure, and most directors haven't been in this situation before, so they don't know what to do. They might not have ever heard the words insolvency, insolvency practitioner, liquidation. And you also have to remember that directors, that when they set up their limited company, they have all these hopes for their company. It can be their baby. They think that it's going to be a success. They never think that they're going to be in this position. Who does? And they have all these hopes and dreams for the limited company. And when they're in insolvency and facing liquidation, it can be very difficult to accept that that dream isn't going to be achieved, and they've got to put it into liquidation. So there can be the shame of that as well. So it can be very difficult, and what I've seen is that when directors come to me, especially small companies, it's had a knock-on effect to their personal life. They're under all this pressure. They might not be sharing it with their spouse, and that can lead to marital problems. It's quite common for directors to be going through a divorce at the same time. And also they might be working longer hours to make sure that they're doing everything they can for the business, or they may have made redundancy and someone, even though that staff member was needed, they just can't afford to pay him. So they've made them redundant and that role needs fulfilling. So maybe the director's been doing that job as well as their own. So they're working long hours, which means that you're not there for the children, you're not there at the family home, and it also doesn't give you that break from the limited company as well. So it can be a very tough time, and I don't think that sometimes people, see that side to it. So I can appreciate that it can be very difficult, but it doesn't have to be as sort of depressing as sort of I've made out there. It can be, it can be a new start to something else. So what I would suggest, that if you are feeling the weight of this and you feel as if there's nowhere to turn, is to get in touch. And we can just have a confidential talk just about the company, where you're up to, what things are happening, see if we can put a strategy in place. Can the company be rescued? There might be some things that you can do that can help the business. If not, it might be that it has to go into liquidation, but having that strategy in place can help. You might start to be able to sleep at night rather than lying awake at 2 in the morning worrying about the company. You might know that what the clear strategy is, so you know how it's going to play out, and you can start looking forward to the future. And you might even want to start up again. and which you can do. So get in touch with someone like myself, a licensed insolvency practitioner. We can guide you through the liquidation process if that's what's going to happen, and we can, we can discuss any of your fears that you've got. I have got a video that I think it's called the most common questions I get asked, and in there it is, as you can imagine, we deal with, the common question of am I going to be personally liable for the debts? Can I set up again? How long this is going to take, etc. And so there's that video there that might help as well. But it is a difficult time. I do appreciate that, but I promise it does help if you talk to someone, and you can talk to me as a licensed insolvency practitioner about the process and strategies. Okay, take care. Thanks very much.